Hello and welcome to Dreams of Wings. And this video is very different to what we would normally do. This is just a very chilled out, spur of the moment video that I wanted to make using the new FlyingIron Spitfire Mark 9, which has recently become available for Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020. I think at the moment, as it stands, it's not on Flight Simulator Marketplace, but it's actually available on the FlyingIron website. Anyone who knows the channel knows that I fly the A2A Mark 1 and Mark 2 Spitfire an awful lot. So this is a different animal. It's the Mark 9. It's in the new simulator with some of the issues there. This isn't a review. It's really more kind of like a first impressions. It's probably the third time of taking it up, but the first time I've done a proper flight in it. I would say if anyone is who's used to my channel is watching this thinking, is this a replacement for the A2A Spitfire in Microsoft Flight Sim, or while we don't have it? It's not as in depth. It's not it doesn't have the systems modeling. We'll talk about it later, but I think we're kind of limited at the moment in terms of what can be done in Microsoft Flight Simulator. Because of the access or the lack of access or whatever it is, because hey, I don't know, I'm not technical enough to understand it. Whatever it is the developers need to be able to make their stuff work with this stuff isn't quite at the level yet where they can do that kind of thing. So in the meantime, what we have is some developers who are working really hard and bringing out some beautiful aircraft, and that is a beautiful aircraft, there's no doubt about it. So yeah, I just wanted to get that in at the start, just in case anyone is watching this thinking, oh, is this a video that's all about how this is the new Spitfire in Microsoft Flight Simulator that's going to replace A2A? It isn't, but what it is a heck of a lot of good fun, and we'll talk a bit about that. So let's get going. Okay, so here we have our beautiful Mark 9 that we're going to be taking up. There is no doubt that they have put an awful lot into how this aircraft looks. That exhaust kind of effect that they put down the side of it. A lot of thought has gone into how this aircraft actually looks, and the textures and just the look of it are absolutely beautiful. If you're a Spitfire fan, wow, it looks really good. So this is going to be very rough and ready. We are going to jump in it. We're going to take off. We're going to go up into the mountains, and we're going to have a good flight, a chilled out flight. This isn't like a big in-depth review or anything like that. As I said, this is more about just us going for a flight and having a bit of fun. And I really do miss chase plane. How do I miss chase plane in this? Right, let's jump into the normal cameras. And for some reason my track IR didn't seem to be picking up, so let's have a quick look at that. There we go. Okay. So we're all good to go there. Let's bring up the old checklist over here. You can't see this. I did find quite interesting. I was looking through the manual, had a quick read through, and saw the bit at the end about the compass and noticed that they'd actually linked to one of my videos. So thank you guys for that. That's much appreciated. Right, here we go. Okay, so let's quickly run through. I don't want to spend too much time on this because I want us to go flying. So let's just move that. The other thing I need to sort out in this really is my views. Try that one. Okay, there we go. So we've turned on the gear indicator switch, which this also is turning on the battery. We've got prop fully forward. Carb air filter is one in operation. So we'll put that forward. Don't have that on the A2A Spit. This is as we said a Mark 9, so it's got a few more bells and whistles on it. Fuel tanks on. Hello. Mixture idle cutoff. Wrong lever. There we go. External tank off. Got it. Throttle is quarter open. This is one of the dangers of not reading the manual properly. I don't even know where the Oh, here we go. That must be it down there. Booster pump. Yeah, we need to wobble that until our little fuel pressure light goes out here. Come on. Have a few more wobbles. There we go. That's gone out. Primer as required. Funny how you get so used to something, and then when you're sitting in something that looks quite similar but is slightly different. I think I'm counting then. I think that should be about 4. Okay, right. So let's put that over there. I'll cover those, and it's mags both. And let's start her up. So just checking that is we've got the brake on. Okay, so somewhere in between there's the sweet spot. There it is. Let's have a look. Oh, that's a nice sound, isn't it? I'm just checking the sounds. Yeah, that is a nice sound. Let's close those. Let's just bring the RPM back a little. Let's do what we're meant to do it properly. Check our oil pressure. Our oil pressure is good. Oil temperature. This is summer, by the way, so oil temperature is relatively high. Let's turn our radiator flaps on. You know, I really am being. To get my head in a funny kind of way to get to these switches because the track are. Go on, there we go. And see, Rob, use the checklist, lad. That's what it's there for. Stop being an idiot. Right, we've done that. Take off. Fuel booster pump on. Okay, yeah. Right. Okay, sorry, just reading the manual there. Which is always a good idea. Manuals are there for a reason. Now again with the old track IR we can look out and about here, which is quite nice. And let's have a look over there. So we haven't really got much wind. The weather is really good. Isn't that wing beautiful? I'm looking at my map, but you're looking at my wing. So we're going to quickly set up that. So we're going to take off here from Scone. Then we'll follow the A9. We'll go over to Aviemore. And then we will just bomb up north to land at RAF Lossiemouth. I told you this was rough and ready. I'm actually doing a flight planning while we're doing it. And waypoint 3. Little nav map has this funny thing sometimes of moving things around or getting waypoints in the wrong order. That might just be my ignorance. Yeah, there we go. That's that sorted now. Okay, what's our temperatures doing? Remember, we're in a Spitfire. We don't want to overcook it. So oil temperature is good. We're above 60 degrees now. Now, so this is the second flight I've done. So I'm just going to get a slightly better view though. Second flight I've done. A couple of things I've noticed. There we go. Is steering in this is very easy compared to the A2A one because we're we're not using differential braking. We are literally just using the rudder pedals or whatever your equivalent is. Whoa. So you do get this kind of slightly artificial, but nonetheless very effective taxiing. So it's actually a joy to taxi. I think one of the things about this aircraft is sorry, looking at the map again. One of the things about this aircraft is that you it's not difficult to get into. Certainly, if you're used to some of the other flight sim aircraft, then you know nothing on this will really come as a shock to you. I don't think. Takeoff is perky, but we'll come on to that. Now the other thing to say that at this stage, 12th of March, year 2021, this, I don't believe this aircraft is fully finished. I think there's still some things they're tweaking on it, so it's only going to get better. Right there, whoops. It is so weird, that steering. I'm just so used to differential steering, differential brake steering with the A2A spit. So there we are, we're all lined up very nicely. Now we needed to close the door. Thank you. Not showing off to anybody here. Let's get the radiator flaps. Let's get that. This is the tricky one. Oh, that's already on. Hang on. On. Turn those back on. Okay, so let's just try and line it up a bit better. I love how it wobbles. There we go. So one of the things you notice is the sound. The sound on this, they've recorded it from a real Spitfire, I believe. So the sound at a set throttle level, just watching those temperatures. The sound at a set throttle level is beautiful, but what you tend to find is as the throttle changes, it changes, almost feels like it changes pitch in steps. That might be something wrong with my setup, I don't know, and it may be something that they changed, but there's no doubt that that sound at that level, that setting, is beautiful, really nice. Okay, so quick look around, make sure that we're not doing anything silly. I am going to add, if my controls will let me, there we go, I always use one notch down of pitch, elevator pitch, because it always just seems to take off a bit nicer in the A2A1. Not sure how this is going to react, but we'll find out. So I'm going to try, now something I've noticed in this is that when I try and take off, the 2 times I've done it, there's a tendency, this is a Mark 9, it's a powerful Spitfire, it has a tendency for the right wing to lift a bit. I think the first time I tried to do it like an A2A Spitz, stick fully back to the right, and it was a little bit jittery, so the second time I didn't put it to the right, and I noticed that it was doing that. So let's see if we can do a slightly nicer takeoff. So I'm going to do it as I would in the A2A, add some power. See what I mean about the sound? Right, let's start coming forward and very gently ease the stick to the centre. And there we do, we get the wobble. Whoa! Interesting. Right, let's quickly come back on the throttle, the RPM. And let's, come on, close the canopy. So yeah, you see that, very interesting. And I do you know what? It could be, just doing some trimming now. It could be something to do with how I've got my controller set up. because I don't spend much time in this sim, and I find that with you know, some of the aircraft, a good example is the Coronado Waco, that they are incredibly twitchy on takeoff with the wings doing all sorts of things. So that's probably something I need to have a look at. I'm used to flying GA and Warbirds in P3D, and don't necessarily see such violent twitchy behaviour, but there you go. But yeah, this is, I mean, just look at the sunlight going across the instrument panel there. They really have done an absolutely beautiful job on getting this aircraft, getting the visuals on this aircraft looking good. Let's have a quick pop outside. Yeah, didn't want to do that. For some reason my camera's back at Scone. Should we try again? Hello Scone. Don't want to be at Scone. Try this one. There we go. Isn't that beautiful? There really is just something about flying an aircraft and looking out over that elliptical wing that is quite stunning. Just watch you back a bit. So it's and everything good. So yeah, it's a lovely aircraft to look at. Now this isn't, as I said, this isn't an in-depth review. There are a whole ton of videos on YouTube now doing in-depth reviews of this aircraft. They're really good, and I'm not going to go through everything in fine detail. What I will say is this is not, what on earth? That's interesting. Canopy effects. It's not the A2A Spitfire. I don't think it's meant to be the A2A Spitfire. This is, at the end of the day, this is 20 quid. The A2A Spitfire for P3D and FSX is a lot more expensive, and it's a lot more in depth. This is just a great bit of fun. And I think, you know, one of the really marvellous things about what's happening with Flight Sim at the moment is that we have this huge explosion in interests and people getting into Flight Sim that never got into it before because of this simulator. And because of the way it's going, and I'm not going to pretend to be an expert, and I'm certainly not going to get into any politics of it, but because at the moment, as I understand, developers like A2A PMDG are not able to model their really complicated, sophisticated systems in this simulator, we're not seeing those aircraft. What we're seeing is aircraft that look absolutely stunning. A lot of work has been put into them. You can see that, but they don't necessarily have the really in-depth, sophisticated flight models and systems. For example, A2A, you have your persistent aircraft. How you leave it is how you find it. If you mistreat it, it's going to bite you. There's things going to go wrong. You feel that, the Spitfire that I'm flying at the moment was the one that I flew around the world as the Silver Spitfire, and now she's painted up as the Bulby Gilder. She's got about 150 hours on her, and that's an aircraft that has to be maintained, looked after, and and it is so sophisticated in terms of how everything is modelled. That is a different product to this. And when I say that, I don't mean it's in a different league. What I mean is that this is a beautiful Spitfire Mark 9 that someone's put a heck of a lot of work into, and it is great fun. And anyone who's new to flight sim is going to get an opportunity for not a huge amount of money to fly something that looks and feels great fun, no doubt about it. And what I'd say is this: I don't know how this Spitfire is going to be developed. I don't know. Maybe once the developers have got more access to, you know, the nuts and bolts of this flight simulator, they can add more things to it. I have no idea. But this is a great way for anyone who is new to it, hasn't got P3D, hasn't got FSX, can't get the A2A aircraft. This is a great way of getting a beautiful Warbird. And at the end of the day, it's a Spitfire. Look at it. It's gorgeous. You know, we're back at Scone still. It is just beautiful. And you get to fly it. Oh, that's irritating. There we go, we're back. Yeah, you get to fly it for not much money. And who doesn't want to fly a Spitfire? Come on. Gorgeous aircraft. So, there we go. So yeah, that's kind of how I see it, really. It's a way of getting into it. I would say this: if the developers don't take this any further, once they're able to, maybe they don't want to. There's nothing wrong with that. But if they decide not to take it any further, and you really want to get into Warbirds, when I was going to say buy this, I don't mean that. I'm not telling you what to spend your money on. Not at all. This is great fun. You know, to have a Spitfire in flight sim is great fun. If you really want to get into the nuts and bolts of flying a Spitfire, and I'm saying this, I don't even know if they're going to launch it in Microsoft Flight Simulator. If they don't, there is going to be trouble. There's a certain pilot who keeps taking over my stream who's going to be paying a visit. But if they do, let's just take a moment to pray. If they do, then what you're going to see is a very in-depth simulation of a Spitfire. Now, I don't know, okay. You may not have heard me talk about the A2A Spit before, because maybe this is the first time you've come to the channel, maybe this is the first time you've heard me, seen me looking at Spitfires. But you know, I completely lost my train of thought there. I was just thinking how how beautiful the scenery is. Yeah, I would say this. I would, if you really want to get into it, and you really want to get into the nuts and bolts of it, when A2A bring out their Spitfire, have a look at it. A2A make flight simulators for the military. They make them for commercial organisations. And we're just lucky enough that they also make stuff for the likes of us. So the A2A Spitfire, which I fly in P3D, and which I've done the tutorial series, shameless plug, hands on the stick boy, check it out, is so in depth that it's also used, Bulby for example, the A2A worked on a Mark 9 conversion of it to train real pilots to fly the Spitfire, so that they have some sim time. Oh, press that button again. Come back. And then before they have a chance to break the real thing, they spend some time in the simulator, and that's kind of how realistic the kind of thing that A2A put out is. I'm lucky enough to have flown the Bulby simulator. It's a full cockpit simulator. It's even got some authentic original Spitfire parts in it. It's just absolutely stunning, absolutely beautiful. But that's kind of the level that A2A are at. So, as I say, if Warbirds is your thing, and it's my thing, I don't fly airliners. Again, if you're new to the channel, you won't see any airliners on here. I'm all about the Warbirds and the GA, and you know, that is kind of where we are at. And if you are interested in really getting into Warbirds, when the A2A Spit comes out, when it comes out, or do you know what, if it doesn't, if the Mustang is beautiful as well. But if you really want to get into Warbirds, which is the point I'm trying to get to, if I just stop waffling and getting distracted by the scenery, that's where to go. In the meantime, have a lot of fun with this, and god damn it, the scenery. So this is if you've seen any of my other videos, you will know that I have a massive love affair with Scotland. I lived up here for a while. I go up here whenever I can. I take my kids camping up here, and this road in particular is one that I have used a lot since I was a young boy, really. And the scenery in Microsoft Flight Simulator, considering this is not add-on scenery, this is just the scenery that comes with it, is achingly beautiful and really does put you right there. Absolutely stunning. Quick look at everything. Come back on the boost a bit. I'm so used to the Mark 1. Normally Mark 1 I would run at +2 boost for a cruise. So we're probably a little bit high there. Also the RPM is a little bit high. But oh, look at that. It really is, honestly. If you've ever driven up the A9, you'll know what I'm talking about. Because this has got things on it that my other one doesn't. Just checking I shouldn't have switched all the things off. This has also got a fuel pressure cock, but that doesn't need to be on unless we're above 12,000 feet. I was actually looking for something to do with the, see if the fuel booster pump comes on. The Mark 1 and Mark 2 doesn't have that. view without... There we go. Now, is this the one? Yeah, no, that's okay. Sometimes with my views I actually lose control of the aircraft. It's a bit disconcerting. It's just absolutely beautiful, isn't it? No doubt about it. That is a nice looking Spitfire Mark 9. Okay, let's get the head back in the cockpit. So, here we are, coming up on the Cairngorm National Park, which is over there. Kind of in it, really. And see, prefer that view. Need to somehow move these views back a bit, but it's a little bit too close. Yeah, beautiful area up here. Aviemore, Cairngorms. If you've watched any of my other videos, if you know me, you're probably bored to death of me going on about this area, but it's an area that I do love. Let's go and have a look at Feshy Bridge gliding site over here. Give them a little hello. Say, and this is probably down to the how little time I spend in this sim compared to P3D, but the scenery in this is just ridiculously good. There's Feshy Bridge. No chaps. Saying to show off. Yeah, scenery is just gobsmackingly good. I think you know, there's a real opportunity now, even more so than we've ever had before, to fly in the simulator in an area that you know or that's local to you, and you know, actually pretty much see the landscape. It must be fantastic for anyone who's doing any flying training or anything. This is Mokanalin, and they've even got the little castle on the... Good God, I've not been here since the update. They've even got the little castle on the island there. Amazing. Let's go and have a quick look at Loch Morley. Yeah, the flight sims are all about immersion. They're all about wanting to feel that you're actually there in an environment, in an aircraft. Now, it may be that you are flying the aircraft for fun, or it may be that you're getting in heavy in-depth systems, but either way, you want to be in an environment that feels realistic. And there is absolutely no doubt that in terms of the scenery, this one has got it in spades. I mean, it is ridiculous how good it is. This is Loch Morley. If you've ever been here, you'll recognise it. There's the little boating marina down there, and then we come over here, and we come to the little beach area. You've got the little hut there where you can hire the water sports stuff. Absolutely amazing. There's the campsite, camp there. The campers saying, what the hell's going on up there? And we'll just take a quick look at Cairngorm Mountain itself. into it again if you recognise that. There is the visitor centre, car park, the funicular railway track up there. I don't think that's working at the moment. Let's get a bit more power on, increase the prop and throttle. And then up on the top here, this is called, I think it's called the Ptarmigan. Like a little cafe where you can go. Do a bit of après-ski, as they say. It's just Gordon Bennett, it's just so damn accurate. And this is default, this isn't an add-on, this is just how it comes, which is what is so beautiful about this sim. Let's bring the power down a bit now. The RPM. There we go. Get us into a nice cruise, and I think what we'll do now is just crack on to Lossie, because as always at the moment I need to try and keep these videos a bit shorter, and I, in case you hadn't noticed, have a tendency to waffle. There we go. So this is what it's about, a bit of fun. Gorgeous Spitfire to fly, fantastic scenery. The Spitfires cost 20 quid at the moment, I think it was from their website. It looks absolutely stunning, and you got some scenery that's default. You haven't had to spend a huge amount of money to get this, which is great. As I say, if you want to get into the real in-depth warbird flying, when A2A bring theirs out, have a look at that. And in the meantime, check out my tutorial series available on the channel. Stunning. It's a screenshot there. Hope you don't mind while I do this. Oh. Sorry. A bit of interference with my shadow play thing. So what I'm going to do now is, to try and keep the video a bit shorter, I'm going to stop recording and I'll pick you up when we get closer to Lossie. But in the meantime, here's an external view. Beautiful. Okay, so while I've been flying over here, I was just having a quick look at the manual, and it really does go to show, folks. Manuals are there for a reason, and this is a habit I've got to stop, get out of. It's quite often, especially with these Microsoft Flight Sim videos, I'm not really spending a lot of time in the manual at first, because I'm kind of jumping into it, just getting a first impression, playing around with it a bit. But one of the dangers with this Spitfire is, of course, I'm very used to the Mark 1 and Mark 2, which are a different animal to this Mark 9. And interesting, in the manual it says that you shouldn't really be taking off with anything more than 7 pounds of boost, which I was. And of course, the more boost we have, the more power, the more torque, the more the aeroplane is wanting to react to all this force that's being put on it. So notes to self: next time I do a flight, it'll be interesting to actually read the manual and do it properly. Yeah, as I say, it's a bad habit I've got. P3D, it's like I take it completely seriously, and I read my A2A manuals and all that kind of stuff. I jump into Microsoft Flight Simulator, and I have a tendency, my fault, to almost treat it like GTA and not take it too seriously. But something like this, where it's a Spitfire and I'm used to flying Spitfires, is not the Spitfire I'm used to flying, and one is very silly if one doesn't use the correct settings, because it can make life difficult for one when one is trying to fly. Now let's have a look at Lossie. Now I'm not looped in this aircraft. It's rather nice. RAF Lossiemouth. Some kind of generic buildings, but there's a bit of green hangarage there. A fuel truck that's about to cross the way. Top and then level. Gorgeous up here. I had the great pleasure of living here for a few years, and beautiful part of the country. Out of our whatnots, and let's do an approach. So again, we should really be reading the manual, but I'll do it Mark 2 styly. Back on the throttle, watching the speed. Some speed off. Hopefully fine. On the throttle, going way too fast. That's interesting behaviour. Very interesting behaviour. Okay. It's fun flying over the sea like this, because it's a lot harder to judge your altitude. Okay, what's our speed now? Okay, we're slow enough to drop the gear, so we will. And they've modelled the down. We're not getting the red things coming out. I really should concentrate on my flying rather than doing this. So we're still very fast. Very fast. Need to lose some of that speed. Flaps. Whoa! Whoa! Okay. This wasn't meant to be a test pilot flight, but didn't do that last time I went to land it, so let's pull out of that. We'll abort that landing, come back round, probably came at it a bit too hot. There we go. So we've got our gear down, come off on the it loses. Okay, how can I describe this? If you're used to the A2A, the A2A loses speed a lot quicker. best way I can describe it. This one is almost like it's sliding on ice. And what we normally do in the A2A spit is you drop the flap right at the last minute, almost just using it as a speed brake. So I'm going to do that a bit earlier this time to see what it does. So we've got a bit of bucking. It suddenly jumps into the air. So that's an interesting one to watch. To lose a bit of speed. Let's do that. Interesting. A little bit wobbly on the ground, like a lot of the Microsoft Flight Sim aircraft seem to be. Very wobbly on the ground. Good God. Whoa. And it just seems to want to keep going. So yeah, takeaways from that, which is the buzzword, is interesting behaviour on touchdown. Didn't want to lose speed, try not to use the brakes because I don't want to do that too much, and it just seems to want to keep going even though it's throttled right way back, and it's kind of bumping from wheel to wheel, but you know, it comes with practice. It's certainly different characteristics to the A2A spit. I don't know how much of that is Microsoft Flight Sim behaviour, but definitely interesting. Something that they have done, which is really nice, is that, let's see if I can get the mouse on it, that down there, that's the flap indicator to show that the flaps are down. If I pop the flaps up, you see that goes in, and that's a real nice little feature that just shows you that your flaps are down, or another way of knowing your flaps are down. So there you go. Thanks for coming along. Really interesting flight. As I say, they've put a lot of work into this. It looks absolutely fantastic. Gorgeous Spitfire, as Spitfires always are, and you know, it's going to be a lot of fun for anybody. What can I say? It's a Spitfire, beautiful scenery, gorgeous. I'll see you on the stream. Stream? I'm saying stream. I'm not streaming. It's a YouTube video. I've been watching too much streaming. I'll see you on the channel again soon. Cheers now.